Welcome back to Let's Get Cooking. It's your girl Rashida, and even though it's almost Christmas, it's almost winter time also. Today I'm going to show you how to make this delicious comfort meal. I'm making beef stew. Yes, traditional beef stew. Before we get started, take a moment and please subscribe, like, and share. Let's take a look at the ingredients I'm using. I have 2.5 pounds of chuck roast beef pot roast, just cut up into nice large chunks because they're going to cook for a while. I have some potatoes, some carrots, and onions. I also have some beef broth, some red wine, and some garlic and peas. So these are the main ingredients for the beef stew. To start off, I'm going to liberally season the beef, and I'm using some basic seasonings, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and I want to put a good amount on the beef because I definitely like to layer the flavors. So we definitely want the beef in the pot roast, or the beef stew, to have a good amount of seasoning on it so that it'll have flavor as you bite into it. So once all my seasonings are on the meat, I'm going to next add some flour, about a half a cup of flour, because what I'm going to do is I will be searing the meat in a hot pot in some oil. So it's like I'm going to pre-cook the meat just a little bit to lock in those flavors. Then I'm going to take them out the pot. Plus the flour helps to thicken the beef stew. So definitely want to make sure all your pieces have a little bit of flour, have some flour. They're coated well with the flour, dredged in the flour, and then we're going to go ahead and add them to the hot sizzling pot oil in the pot. Now you guys know beef stew, this is a one pot meal, so I'm only using my Dutch oven here. I'm going to take probably about 2 tablespoons of oil, heat that up for about a minute or two, and then I'm going to start to add the meat in a little at a time. This is a stage where you definitely want to make sure your oil is hot. You don't want to put the meat, the flour, in cold oil at all. We want to get it immediately to start cooking, start searing. This process is going to take probably only about 3 to 4 minutes. I'm putting all the meat in my hot pot. Once all the meat's in the pot, I'm going to stir it around for a few minutes, probably about 3 to 5 minutes. Want to make sure that all sides are pretty much brown. This is definitely just a process of searing the meat, not even cooking it completely at all. We're going to take it out the pot once it's all stirred and they're brown, discard it, and then we'll start layering the other ingredients into our pot. But this is an important step. When you're making beef stew, you definitely want to go ahead and sear that meat first. And you see how it's getting brown on the tips and on the ends. There'll still be a lot of red, but as long as most of it's brown, that'll be the point to which I remove it from the pot. Alright, now that the searing process is over and you see it left a lot of nice little brown bits, now that's flavor, but now it's time to add in the onion. And I just diced up 1 large whole onion. You want to have a good amount of onion in your beef stew as it'll cook down because it's going to cook with the meat, so you won't be able to even tell that it's there. And I'm using about 3 cloves of garlic, and I just finely diced those up also. And I'm just going to stir these up only for about a couple seconds. We see the pan is still cooking, but those brown bits will come out. That's all flavor. That's flavor from the beef. We're layering the flavors. We have the beef, the onions, the garlic, and now I'm using a heaping tablespoon of tomato paste. And that's just going to add to the flavor of the beef stew. 1 heaping tablespoon of tomato paste and stir that up. The pot right now is on just like a medium heat. It's still cooking, has a little bit of oil in it. Now it's time to add in the liquids. I'm adding in 4 cups of beef broth, beef stock, whatever you have on hand. That's about 32 ounces. And I'm also adding in 2 cups of red wine. A good quality red wine works best, provides the best flavor. So we have a total of 6 cups of liquid going into our pot. And I'm adding in about a tablespoon of the W sauce, which is the Worcestershire sauce. Before I get this boiling, I want to add in some thyme and some rosemary. I'm just adding in the whole stock. I'll let that cook and I'll take that out once we're at the end of the cooking process. But that's just layering the flavors. I wanted to have some of those natural herbs. You will see that I also added in some salt. Definitely need to add some salt to the beef stew to enhance the flavors. Not a lot, but you definitely need to add some more salt at this stage. Now I'm adding back in that seared meat, that beef chuck, that pot roast, whatever you have. I'm adding back in the meat that we seared at the beginning of the video, all 2.5 pounds. Then I'm going to bring this up to a boil, about 5 minutes. Once it's at that boiling stage, I will reduce the heat and put the lid on, and I'm going to let this right here cook for about an hour, low and slow, and that just helps to tenderize the meat. So in my pot right now, the first steps to the beef stew, we have seared the meat, we have added in the onions, the garlic, our fresh herbs, some rosemary, some thyme, and then we've added in our liquids, and that was 4 cups of beef broth and 2 cups of red wine. Now you see it's at that boiling stage. Once it starts boiling like this, definitely want to take it down to a low, to about a low medium heat, definitely low. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the top and just let that cook. And I'll check it at about 45 minutes, but definitely cooking that for 45 minutes to an hour, tenderizing the meat. Okay, I'm checking back in after that 45 minutes went by. You're checking to see how the liquid has reduced, so it's been cooking, but also the meat is it's very tender at this point. And you can see where some of the oils have extracted off of the meat, and that's fine. This is fine, it's not too oily. Once we add in the rest of the ingredients, it'll absorb into the potatoes, so you won't even see this layer of oily film. So I checked the meat and it looks good. So now at this point, I want to start adding in my potatoes. And I used 5 red potatoes, and I just diced those into nice sized pieces because they're going to cook for about another 30 or 40 minutes. So I didn't want them to fall apart and be mush in the beef stew. Once I add in my potatoes, I'm going to let this cook for another 15 minutes before adding in the carrots. As you see, I'm taking out those natural herbs, those fresh herbs, the rosemary, thyme stems. I'm pulling them out at this point as we don't want to eat them later. I'm doing another check after 15 minutes, and this is how the marrying of the flavors. So we have the beef, we have the potatoes. They are coming together. They're cooking well. Everything looks good. Now it's time to add in our carrots, the diced carrots. I would say this is about a cup and a half. However much you like carrots, you can add more, you can add less, you can omit. You don't have to have all these ingredients in your beef stew. But I added in about a cup and a half of diced carrots. And I just used the mini carrots and cut those up. I like those best, and they cook fairly quickly. And so once the carrots are in the pot, I'm going to cook it about another 15 minutes because we definitely want to soften up the carrots. And by that time, the potatoes and the carrots, they'll be at the same consistency. And the beef is just taking it all in. And the longer it cooks, the more tender it gets. So everything's coming together, looking, smelling great, looking good. We're almost at the end. Okay, after another 15 minutes, our beef stew is just about ready. It's been about an hour, hour and a half. The last thing I want to add to the beef stew is my peas. This is about a cup of peas. Once again, use your discretion on how much you would like to add. I added about a cup of frozen peas. And this is the final step. Peas don't need a long time to cook at all. They may actually just need about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 more minutes. And then everything will be complete. Look here, look, we made it to the end of this beef stew cooking video. Look, y'all, this is your fall winter comfort food staple is beef stew. When I was younger, I really didn't like beef stew, but once I learned how to make it, don't eat the ones in the can. I'm sorry. You got to take the time, put a little love in it, and make your own pot of beef stew. You'll be happy that you did. As always, I hope you try this dish out, this beef stew. It's an excellent, excellent fall winter dish. Make it for yourself, make it for your family, make it for your friends. Let me know how it turns out. Let me know your favorite comfort food during the fall and winter. Drop it in the comments. If you have a question, please leave it in the comments. And remember to like, subscribe, and share. Especially subscribe. And I'm wishing you a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. Hope to get another video out to you before Christmas. Until the next time, have a blessed day and a blessed week. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.